Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
It's time to catch up with our good buddy, Mr. Jake Bolks, Conservation Warden for the state of Wisconsin. Well, first off, Jake, you didn't send me any pictures last week, so I'm assuming you didn't catch anything fishing?
Yeah, nothing worth taking a picture of.
Well, you're not doing it right then. I mean, come on, you got to have that fish right up close to the camera, right? The old wise tale, the old guys would always do that.
Yeah, you push it way out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, we caught some fish, but just nothing to write home about. But any day going on the river, being in that topography and just getting out there is always a fun day. So It was nice. There's still a lot of ice on the river, and then the water temps are pretty cold still, and I probably haven't warmed up much after this last couple of days.
No, yeah, you're right.
Jake, what have you heard for the ice fishing this year? I've talked to a lot of ice fishermen and said they haven't really been biting this year. Is that isolated, or what are you hearing?
I think that's probably preference on where they were fishing or how they were fishing. I've definitely talked to plenty of guys that had a good year.
Good.
There was enough ice where people were able to get to different spots. In fact, people were on the Mississippi with trucks this year, which I would never do anyways. But then there wasn't too much where all these lakes up north or this or that are getting frozen out. So, some people, get skunked a day or two. I think that's just fishing. But overall, I'd say it was probably a pretty successful winter fishing season, actually.
All right. Well, speaking of a little fishing, we have another Jake, our good friend Jake from State Farm, had a question for you asking, what are the perch limits for the Eau Claire River from Lake Eau Claire down to Lake Altoona, and what is the limit from the Altoona Dam down to the Chippewa River along the Dells Dam and down? Man, he's really specific on that.
Yeah, so they're good questions because it is different regulations. The place I would start, just like every week, I would say jump in the regulations pamphlet. Page 38 is the page for Eau Claire, and it breaks it down what each section is for special rivers, for special regulations. But the short answer is, if you're coming from Big Falls down to Lake Altoona, that is the Eau Claire River, and that is considered just a general inland fishing. So you follow all the general inland fishing regulations. So 25 perch. And where the lake starts and where the river begins, or vice versa, is the high line. So that boat launch off of North Shore. Maybe not North Shore, what is it over there? But anyways, there's kind of some high lines that go across the river. It's kind of used as the boundary between lake regulations and river regulations. So upstream of Lake Altoona, 25 perch. On Lake Altoona, you can only have 10 perch. The regulation is 10 panfish may be kept. So, you could have 8 perch and 2 crappie or any combination thereof. But if you're just strictly perch fishing, it's just 10 perch on Lake Altoona, and that goes all the way to the dam. And then below the dam, it's back to 25 perch, because that's considered just kind of your general inland regulations, with a caveat of just that area is open year-round for fishing.
Good stuff.
So a lot of talking there. The big thing, again, is grab the regulations, because it breaks it down. Like I'm looking here on the Eau Claire River, it breaks it from the Eau Claire River, from the Altoona Lake Dam downstream, upstream to the Eau Claire Dam, from the Eau Claire Dam downstream. So it really breaks it down on what fish there are.
Mm-hmm. Jake, I know last week we talked about, there was this stuff trending on Facebook about potentially price increases and such. And this is not necessarily related to that, but this is something I've been seeing on Facebook and social media this week too. And I think it was from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, the potential for this upcoming hunting season, the Wisconsin deer hunting season, with deer management units, mostly for, I think it's the northern part of the state. Have you seen stuff like that across Facebook and such?
Yeah, I've just seen it the same place that everyone else has seen it, on different social medias or media channels. I haven't received any internal guidance or anything saying like that's a go or it's likely to happen or not likely. It's everything is, like you just said, been online. But from what I understand or from what I've seen, it affects all of the forested zones. So that would include like the Central Forest Zone, which is eastern Eau Claire County, Jackson, Clark, that area. So it could have a potential impact down here if that is all approved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that because I was looking at that too. That kind of would affect my area over in good old Taylor County over there too. So yeah, definitely curious if when that comes out.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Like I said, I haven't heard anything from our wildlife folks or legal or anything. It's all been through the outdoor news or social media or, like you just said, the Milwaukee Journal.
Mm-hmm. So like when stuff like that happens, Jake, I mean, how much like studying and like, okay, now I got to learn about this and try to memorize that. I mean, that's got to be kind of a lot of stuff to always be adjusting on the fly every year for some potential rule changes and such.
Oh yeah, I mean, and rules, we try to keep up as best we can, just like the public. The rules are always changing. I mean, Clark County went back to no baiting this month, and everything like that. So it's like, boom, there's another change. But, I proactively try to keep up with, this kind of stuff that we're talking about because, it's a general, a lot of people like to converse about it in the public. But as far as professionally, until something is enacted, signed into a law or an emergency rule which puts it into law, until something like that happens, it's not official, so I don't really worry about it too much in my work world, but I just keep up with it, for conversation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Hey, speaking of hunting, I know this just opened up on March 1st, but if anybody's interested, the application period for that elk hunt opened up, right? So, I mean, you can select between, is it the Black River Elk Range or the Clam Lake one?
Yep.
Those two?
I think I don't have it up in front of me, but I believe they are changing the names in case you see that.
Okay.
I think they're going to call it the Northern Range or the Northern Herd and like the Central Herd or Central Range. Something to that effect, just because the elk have expanded out of those, geographical boundaries. So when you say Clam Lake Herd or when you say the Black River Herd, a lot of times, or the Jackson County, a lot of times they're moving out of those areas, and I just think I don't know if it's optics or what, but they're kind of changing the term so you don't think Clam Lake and then you're hunting 2 hours to the north or east or west, whatever. So yeah, you can put in for those. And I don't know if it was approved for this year or it'll be next year, but they are going to come out with a cow quota, and I think it's going to be like 4.
Okay.
So, and that qualifies for your once-in-a-lifetime hunt.
Okay.
So, if you end up drawing a tag, there's a potential you draw a cow tag, and that's, you'll never draw another tag again for a bull or anything like that. So if you're putting in this year, definitely slow down before just clicking and donating your $10 or putting in your $10, because there could be some real specific buttons you want to pick on. If you don't care if you shoot an elk, or a cow, you just have the opportunity, that's awesome, go for it for sure. I think that'd be pretty cool to shoot any sort of elk in Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. I'd be down for that at least. But if you're a hunter that's like, nope, if I'm going to do it, it's going to be a bull, then you really want to make sure. Because I don't know if it's this year or if it might be next year, but I know that's in the works. Interesting.
Yeah, definitely. That would be cool. That's one of my goals. I still want to go elk hunting in Wisconsin. So
that would be, When I saw him on the, maybe I told you guys this story a couple weeks ago, but when I saw him on the interstate, I was just like, gosh, that's crazy. It's still weird to think he can just drive. I drove down to Wisconsin Rapids for a day, or Wisconsin Dells for a day, and it's crazy to think you can just see elk hanging out on the side of the road in Wisconsin.
I know.
Yeah, I saw that Black River herd a while. Oh, it's been a few years ago now. But going across the road, it's just deer or elk after elk after elk. It was breathtaking.
It's awesome. It's such a unique experience.
The
only time I've ever seen them like that is when I was out in Colorado skiing, and it's they're just hanging out in people's backyards. And I thought back then too, like, how crazy would it be just you wake up, you look outside, usually we see a doe or a fawn, but, now you're seeing cow elk or a bull in the fall. It's crazy.
Hey, Jake, I know I saw a news or a release from the DNR saying, bear dens, if you see any or you find any, to let the DNR know and such. And actually, I saw a friend of mine on Facebook last week saw a bear getting out of the den. It was like next to the road coming out of, a field. It must have been a culvert or something like that. So, have you been hearing more about, bears kind of starting to come out of hibernation at this point in time?
Oh, yeah, all the water, especially last week with all that water melting, all that snow melting, a lot of, I think more and more bears are figuring out, like, culverts are a great place to go. And so between, holes at the bottom of farm fields that they dig and culverts, those places get flooded out pretty quick, so it pushes them out, and then they kind of stand around and go, what the heck? And then everyone sees them. So the DNR is asking, you can call the local biologist. That's a way to report it. But I would encourage everyone just to Google, like, Wisconsin DNR bear den and just follow the links. There's multiple news stories that have links to a survey. So there's nothing like I can put in for it. Like, the easiest and most efficient way to do it, and, we appreciate everyone helping out and reporting it, the most efficient way to do it is just to follow the link and go to the survey, and it's a quick little survey saying, when, where, what did you see? And that's a good way to get that data in. Otherwise, DNR staff might not be able to enter it appropriately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of, it was a really cool video. And it looked like, you're sleeping for that long in hibernation. You're kind of out of it a little bit. So it was, I think, still trying to get its bearings, figured out.
For sure.
Oh, no, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jake. I was going to ask, I know last week, it was the deadline to get ice shanties off. Did you run into any issues, hear any stories about any people getting stuck out there or anything?
Yeah, there's a couple guys that I had some conversations with on Friday and Saturday saying it's time to get it off, and whether they weren't aware of the deadline or they forgot or they were out of town. There's one individual that was in Florida, so he had to work with some friends to get that thing off. So there were some people. It's always a good, a good reminder when you start thinking spring to start looking into some different stuff. If you got shacks on the ice, you always got to be aware of when they got to be removed, and even more importantly, if you got shacks on the ice, whether it's a $100 plywood pop up you made or a nice $50,000 ice castle, you got to have your name, DNR customer ID info, or a phone number and address. So you have to have something on there that identifies it. And I ran into a few problems with that, with people that failed to identify it or let the sun fade it away, so I couldn't give them a call. And if I have to track you down, it kind of changes my discretion on, what comes of that violation.
Mm-hmm. I like how you put that too, by the way. That was very professional. So, Jake, I know next week's going to be a busy time when we catch up with you too, because when we catch up with you next week, after that's a few days, spring turkey bonus tags are going to be on sale too. So that's a good reminder. People, set your alarms on your phones.
They will be. Yeah. So it's coming. Spring's coming. I think it's going to be 60 plus degrees on Monday. So. We might have just witnessed the last hurrah here, so...
Don't jinx it, dude. Don't jinx it, man. Come on.
Well, if we get snow, it'll melt quick just like this will, so I think spring's a-coming, so start preparing.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jake... Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, get them boats registered and start buying licenses.
Good idea with the boat registration. That's a good reminder. Hey, dude, we appreciate it as always, man. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll catch up with you next week, okay, bud?
Yeah, sounds awesome. Always fun. Thanks, guys.
You got it. There you go. Jake Bolks, DNR warden for the state of Wisconsin.